You are going to be seeing several players featured in the running game tonight.
Yeah, it's kind of a three-headed monster, with their running backs and of Ellis, Lytle, and Ayers. The quarterback doesn't run it much, but he throws it fairly well when he does throw it. He does not throw it a lot, but when he does, he's fairly successful.
And also Clinton Prairie going to be run heavy here as well, as we welcome you here inside of the IHSAA Sports Network studios here. So obviously, Jim, with Clinton Prairie coming into this one, they are coming off of a good win against Taylor just a week ago after they had 2 losses in a row to Sheridan and Delphi here. I mean, needless to say, for Clinton Prairie, you have some momentum back on track here going into the latter half of the season.
Yeah, I would agree. And again, it's momentum, and no shame, of course, losing to Sheridan. Bud Wright, probably the best high school football coach in terms of wins in the state has ever seen. So, you're just a little bit of an underdog here if you're Clinton Prairie, so you're going to have to take some chances. But, yeah, they got a shot.
So let's take a look at some of the notes that we're going to be dealing with here in tonight's matchup here as both teams meet at midfield for the coin toss here. These are 2 teams that met each other in the sectional championship just a year ago, and Carroll won their first sectional title in 18 years. Meanwhile, Clinton Prairie, they are still struggling to win just 1 sectional championship in their school history. But also, you have a couple of big players as well for Clinton Prairie. Jacob Wilson, he is a heavy hitter in all-purpose yards, but also the Carroll defense he's going to be going up against is certainly one to look at.
It really is, and again, there's weapons really on both sides of the football for both ball clubs. It's just going to be a matter of, who honestly has the best night of blocking and tackling. It's just as simple as that.
So let's take a look at the keys of the game here, Jim. What do you got for us?
Well, again, if you're Clinton Prairie, I think what you want to do is shorten the football game. You want to try to use as much of the 40-second clock as you can. If you get some 4th and 2s, 4th and 3s, you may want to think about going for it regardless of field position, because if you do get it, that means you get to keep the football longer and keep that Carroll offense off the field. If you're also Clinton Prairie, you might want to steal a possession. Look for a fake punt, an onside kick, some type of way to get an extra possession. And then if you're Carroll, you just got to contain Davis and Wilson, 2 big play receivers. If you can contain them, keep your offense on the field, you're Carroll, you have a pretty good shot.
Caden Davis, the leading receiver for Clinton Prairie. 296 yards receiving along with 6 touchdowns. But also Jacobs, one of those big players from the slot position for Clinton Prairie to be dealt with here. The Carroll Cougars under the tutelage of Blake Betzner in his 2nd season as the head coach of Carroll has not lost a game this season, 16-4 in that time span. Meanwhile, Kyle Schleicher is the head coach of Clinton Prairie in his first season after spending 3 seasons at Crawfordsville, where he went 7-30 in that span. 2 very talented coaches here and 2 very talented teams here, Jim, as we are set to go here for some Friday Night Lights action here in Florida.
Big time kickoff here again. It would be nice for Carroll. You want to set the tone, you get a good return here. Let's see what happens.
Excuse me, I said Florida. I meant Flora. Put an extra D there as we get the opening kick taken back to midfield here for Carroll, who will start with the ball first here in this one.
Well, good field position there. A relatively short kick, and was nicely returned there by number 22. That was Clayton Johnston, and Johnston brought it out to the 50. So excellent starting position for the Cougars.
So here we have Carroll under the leadership of Luke Tanner, who is the sophomore starting quarterback for the Cougars. He's only completed 16 passes all season long in this run-heavy offense. And they go right with their bread and butter from the get-go. And a big, power-hungry run there by Keegan Ellis, 6'4", 225 pounds, a junior.
Well, this big offensive line already kind of letting their presence be felt there. Watkins, Humphreys, Trent, Pagan, and Hernandez, great job as you see the replay there. Nice hole. Good job of just keeping his feet moving. Ellis picks up a big play, about 15 yards.
So a big run there for Keegan Ellis as Carroll once again taking their time. This is something that they do, not only running the ball but also running the clock throughout the entirety of the game. Tanner with the handoff again to Ellis, and he has a lot of running room down to the 10. Sheds some tacklers, reaches for the pylon, and he's in on the first 2 plays from scrimmage. Touchdown Cougars.
Well, this play is called down. This is just basic wing tee football here. You're going to basically down block everybody to the right, pull the left guard, kick out the defensive end. You're going to see the kick out block right there. Nice job, and then the rest is just all him, just again keeping those legs churning. Great shot of the officials here communicating. The official here looks to his buddy and says, was he in? Was he in? He says, yes, he was in. Touchdown, Cougars.
35 yards on that one particular run. And the extra point is good here for Carroll. 7-0 your score. We'll take a quick timeout. Back in a moment here on the ISC Sports Network.
I brought you a present. A book.
Follow the adventures of the Ardente Dental team as they fight cavities, gum disease, and create beautiful, healthy smiles.
Inconceivable!
Hello, my name is Dr. Snyder. You cause cavities. Prepare to die.
Inconceivable!
To make your smile look straight and fine, our braces per month are just $1.99.
Inconceivable!
You keep using that word, I do not think it means what you think it means.
Have fun at Ardente Dental.
Welcome back here to Flora here on the ISC Sports Network alongside Jim Leisure. I'm Kurt Darling. And Jim, easy does it there for the Carroll Cougars. 2 plays, 50 yards on an easy opening possession for the Cougars.
Well, if you know anything about high school football, you know that the wing tee is a very difficult defense to defend, especially in today's world. Everybody's shotgun spread, blah, blah, blah. This is more old-fashioned. Quarterback under center, and you got a couple of wings, and it's hard to defend. Clinton Prairie's going to have to make a few adjustments defensively.
So Jake Skinner puts his boot into the ball here for the kick to Clinton Prairie. Oh, and a hard hit right there on the return as Caden Davis was trying to cut it back into the middle of the field.
Well, he actually gave up a few yards there to try to get out that, sometimes you'll see a return man give a little to gain a little. That time he gave a little to get lit up by, it looked like number 9, Taylor Lennon blew him up there.
Devastating hit right there by Lennon. Meanwhile, the Gophers will set up shop here right just past the 30-yard line. Call it the 32.
And you see the shotgun spread here. 3 receivers wide, single back.
So here's Dunford, and we got a whistle right out of the gate. Most likely a false start here on Clinton Prairie.
Yeah, it was. It was either left guard or the center might have kind of, you just saw a little bit of the hip kind of bounce right before the snap. Pretty easy call. The umpire is the official who sits up at linebacker depth, and that's kind of one of his calls. He's kind of watching for interior movement. Pretty easy.
So you have Stephen Dunford along with Jacob Wilson here in the backfield for Clinton Prairie, as Dunford will go under center here. And the handoff is to Wilson, and he powers forward across the 35.
I was able to get the penalty yardage back, plus a little bit more, little wham block there. We call that wham. The tackle blocks out, and the slot back comes inside, whams the linebacker. It's just basically an ISO, a nice pickup there to at least get the penalty yardage and a little bit more.
Gain of about 9 yards. 2nd down and 7 here, and on the carry going there is Kai Jacobs, it appears. Actually, no, that was Dunford on the keeper, and he only gets back to the line of scrimmage.
Well, Dunford actually picks up the ball. There was a little bit of an exchange issue there between him and Wilson, and he was luckily that ball bounced right back to him. That was supposed to be a handoff to Wilson, but the ball got loose, and Dunford got a lucky bounce and was able to get maybe a yard.
So 3rd down and 7. And Dunford this time on the keeper, and he loses his footing, getting right about to the 40-yard line, call it about the 37, gain of 2. And it's a 3-and-out here for the Gophers.
Yeah, he kind of slipped there, and I don't know, it looks like, I mean, they could, again, you could go hard count here. And you see he kind of loses his footing right there, but if he hadn't, he'd have probably been lit up by Lytle. We'll see what they do. Try the hard count, try to get him off sides.
So it's 4th down and 5 here.
And it worked.
No, he got a flag instead.
Yeah, I really don't think they're going to run a play. You see this a lot at the high school level. Coach will get up there, tell the quarterback, give him a hard count.
There it is.
Yeah.
It almost looked like it might have been a false start there on the Gophers, but instead they get the 5 yards, and that's an automatic 1st down for the Gophers.
And I promise you the defensive line coach for Carroll is just pulling his hair out. You tell those, I mean, you're right in front of the ball, son. Just watch the ball. I mean, you're the closest guy. Just, ignore the quarterback.
So the drive stays alive off of the hard count on 4th down. And Dunford with the handoff to Wilson. and he gets clobbered right at the line of scrimmage, but before he falls forward for a gain of a yard.
Michael Carey in there for the tackle there for Carroll, and just does a nice job of closing hard. He gets a down block out of the defensive line or the end of the line, offensive line, I'm sorry, and just closes hard. And if you do it right, you can make contact with the ball carrier pretty much at the line of scrimmage. He may get a yard or two, but you can't banana that thing. You got to go flat, and he did.
So officially a gain of 2, ball at the 45. Dunford again off to Wilson, who has a little bit more of a hole before he gets out just short of the 50.
Does a nice job of using the hand there. He started to go down on the ground, and you're going to see him kind of put his hand down and balance himself right there. And actually it looked like maybe the knee did touch, but the official gave him the extra effort.
So a gain of 4, going to be 3rd down and about 4 or 5 here at the 49-yard line. With 3 down backs, here's Wilson, has a hole, gets to the 30, the 20, and he is all the way into the end zone. Stopped short for the touchdown. How about that run there, Jim Leisure, to counterbalance that big drive from Carroll to start the game?
Well, excellent answer to it. Again, it's a little wham block there, quick hitter, and again, the tackle blocks out. You bring a wing back or a slot man back up inside, and honestly, he just looked like he was shot out of a cannon. Wilson just left everybody in his lurch.
51 yards on the run to the house there for Jacob Wilson. Now, this is a Gophers team that does not kick PATs. They go for 2 every single time as Dunford tries to punch it up the gut on the keeper, and it goes for naught. So they leave a point on the board. 7-6 is your score here with just shy of 8 minutes left to go here in this first quarter. We'll go ahead and take another timeout. Back in a moment on the ISC Sports Network.
High school sports fans, welcome back to Game Time, to pure spirits, to pure sport. Welcome back to high school sports.
Fans, I'm IHSAA Commissioner Paul Knighty, and I just want to say, welcome back.
This is Game Time. This is Indiana high school sports. This is your IHSAA.
Ball here. Harris scores. With 19 seconds. Fake players, big boy. I'm telling you right now, that's awesome. I love it. Oh!
Right back to the action here. A short kickoff from the Gophers here on the ISC Sports Network. And bringing it back here for Carroll. Cross midfield. That's Clayton Johnston. Going to bring it back to the 45.
Well, Johnson with 2 returns, and again, both of them, well, one went past the 50, one was right at the 50. Short kicks, and again, unfortunately for Clinton Prairie, you have a really nice offensive series. You go down the field about 6 or 7 plays, you score on a big run, and then you give it right back up, and now you're already in your own territory. Tough spot to be defensively.
So far, Carroll averaging a starting position in plus territory. They started on the 50 on their previous drive, and now they start on the 45. They also went only 2 plays on that previous drive, so the offense is still pretty fresh. Handoff is to Keegan Ellis again, doing the exact same thing he did last time, trying to shed some tacklers, gets down across the 25.
33 Tyler Altick was there, and I mean, he was there late, but you know, it was going to be a 7 or 8 yard gain, but he's just too high. You see on the replay here, you can't tackle that kid up there. I mean, you're just going to go for a ride. You got to go below the waist. You got to try to tie those legs up and basically try to wrestle him to the ground that way.
Ellis has had 2 games this season where he has gone over 200 yards, 4 going over 100 yards. His season high rushing was against Tri-Central. That was 215-yard effort. Meanwhile, here's Cohen Ayers, one of the other versatile backs here for Carroll, as he gets that back across the 25.
Tackled there by Jacob Wilson, who's one of the leading tacklers for this Gopher football team. But that time, just a little power. They brought the left guard around and block everybody down, pull the left guard to the right, and you know, give the ball to a strong kid. It's not rocket science. I mean, it's just straight ahead football. One of the things I've noticed, Clinton Prairie is in a 3-man front. That is their base defense, probably because they play a lot of teams that are spread. Well, this team is not a spread. You're going to have to bring another defensive lineman in, I think, to stop this run.
Handoff to Ellis up the gut again, and he gets down to the 15, a gain of 6.
which is, of course, why Carroll likes this offense, is because it's hard to prepare for. You just don't see it week in and week out. And right now, this blue, you see that blue just wave of offensive linemen getting great push and pretty easy to run behind that.
A talented young offensive line for Carroll. Only one senior starting tonight. Handoff again to Ellis, but he gets held up by a big wall of blue, who was held up by a wall of white, only a gain of a couple.
A good double team there between the center and the left guard, and got good movement. But the linebackers were able to get in there. Again, I'm sure Clinton Prairie has some version of a goal line defense where they bring in at least one, if not two, additional defensive linemen. They may want to consider, if Carroll continues to run the football like this, to bring those guys in the game even when the ball's at midfield.
Carroll once again in the red zone. Tanner on the sweep, this time hitting Little, and he turns the corner, gets upfield, and he is in for another Cougar touchdown. 12 yards on the carry there for Grady Little to get his 5th rushing touchdown of the year.
Again, just too high. You know, you have defensive football players out there, and Braden Jarbo, who's just a freshman, but the young man was way too high. You're not going to tackle him up there. You're going to have to go down, wrap those legs, put your shoulder pads in his thigh board. It's the only shot you got.
And the PAT looks like it got tipped by the line, or it just didn't make it there. Either way, the PAT is no good, so 13-6 on your scoreboard. So tonight's game is sponsored by Encompass Credit Union, who proudly serves Tipton, Clinton, and Howard counties and strives to support the local community and give back in every way it can by sponsoring sports teams, backing local organizations, community groups, and school events as well. Check us out at encompasscu.org. Once again, alongside Jim Leisure, I'm Kurt Darling. Jim, if you're head coach Kyle Schlicker, what are you telling your Gophers team here on this next drive?
Well, you got to, and unfortunately, so many kids play both ways for Clinton Prairie. It's hard because, you know, it's not like you have the whole defensive unit over there. You got 8 guys going both ways. So right now you're coaching them up. And again, just the ones that aren't on the return team. So, but yeah, you just say, guys, we got to toughen up a little bit. We're going to make some adjustments. Again, we may bring in a defensive lineman or two. We're going to stop this run. Offensively, we just got to keep doing what we're doing.
This is a Gophers squad, 5-2 on the year. And coming on the return again here is Davis. This time it's a much softer hit than what he had last time after getting decked on the return, and he brings that back out to the 30.
Yeah, again, you know, you are 5-2, and you remind them of that too. You know, guys, we're not a bad football team. You know, we can play with good teams. You know, Carroll's obviously very good, but you know what? You only got to beat them once. This is not the best 4 out of 7. Beat them once, move on. You'll probably see them again in the section.
The Gophers graduated 8 seniors from last year's team that went 6-5, and that's including quarterback Drew Blacker, who was an excellent player for the Gophers in his tenure. So here's Dunford under center. Again, the ball off to Wilson, who went 51 yards the last time. He keeps his legs moving across the 35.
Lots of blue shirts there, but I saw 32, Michael Carey was there. He was the one that kind of had him wrapped up, eventually got him to the ground.
Michael Carey, the leading tackler on this front 4 here for Carroll, 45 tackles. He also has 2.5 sacks, which is a rarity when you're a team that goes up against many teams that run the ball a lot. On the sweep here to Davis. He tries to turn the corner, goes nowhere with it, as Colton Ayers is there on the tackle in the backfield.
Well, another leading tackler for Carroll, number 4, Griffin Viney was in there, and you see him just shoot in there at the. He's just a blur. You see him come in from his safety position downhill, and that was just one of those little touch passes. That's actually a really safe play. A lot of coaches like to run that because if you do drop it, it's considered an incomplete pass because it's kind of a forward pitch. So legally, by definition, it is a forward pass. So again, not a lot of risk there. If you drop it, it's okay.
So that's a loss of 4 yards on the play. Another tackle for loss for Colton Ayers, his 5th on the season in that regard. Back to pass is Dunford for the first time tonight, and nearly, and it is intercepted. Griffin Viney getting his first interception of the season, and that's the first turnover of the ball game.
Yeah, again, it's just the same way. He just plays downhill, and he read that. He's back there playing free safety, center field, as we like to call it. And his job is just kind of read the quarterback's eyes, try to find a receiver cutting across in front of his face. When he sees that, okay, there he is, he comes on the ball, makes a nice catch.
That is now 5 interceptions on the season for Stephen Dunford. And you mentioned, Jim, how for Clinton Prairie, one of the keys was to steal a possession. Well, you just allowed Carroll to do just that.
Well, great plans don't always work. But, yeah, I mean, that's the goal. It just didn't happen for him.
Here's Ellis with a spin move through the middle and falls forward for a gain of 9.
Boy, Ellis is just a big kid. He's listed at 6'4", 210. He looks every bit of that. And, when you're playing this level of football, single A, 2A football, when you have a kid that has basically Division I size, it could be a huge advantage. Think back a couple years ago, Jack Kaiser at Pioneer. I mean, that's a young man that starts at Notre Dame, and he was playing single A football.
Keegan Ellis, just 98 yards shy of the 1,000-yard mark for the season coming into tonight. Certainly well on his way to getting just that as he gets the call again. And that's Jacob Wilson, his running back counterpart on offense, making the tackle right there as he gets across the 25.
Yeah, nice little job. You'll see some quick feet right there. Was able to make number 11, Caden Davis, miss. Just a little shake and bake there, for the big kid, showing a little. Sometimes it's better to be fast left to right than it is, north and south. If you have those little extra moves, it'll be a huge advantage for you.
7-yard gain and a first down for the Cougars. Tanner, this time with the handoff to Grady Little, gets held up in the backfield, and it'll be a tackle for loss. And that's once again Jacob Wilson with a little bit of help from Tyler Altick.
Yeah, it looked like maybe number 5 just shot in there. Dunford came in, and he didn't make the tackle, but he made the play. He held him up just enough for his teammates to get there and clean him up.
Loss of 4 on the play. This is a Clinton Prairie defense that has 9 sacks on the year. They also have 4 forced fumbles. As we tick inside of 2.5 minutes left to play here in the first quarter. Tanner back to pass, feeling the pressure, and as the aforementioned sacks appear, Caden Davis gets the sack right there, his 3rd on the season and the 10th on the season for Carroll for Clinton Prairie as a team.
Well, kind of unique there because it looked to me like Clinton Prairie was running Carroll was running some play action stuff at the line. They brought the right guard or left guard around to the right as if it was power, but there was no ball fake. So ended up people just running free there. So I don't know if it was just a miscommunication. The line thought we were running power, and the quarterback thought we were running pass. But either way, that kind of looked a little bit like the Colts game last night where the quarterback's just running for his life.
Keegan Ellis running into a pretty stiff headwind right here as he gets tackled out of bounds, again by Jacob Wilson.
Well, and you figure, with the down and distance being what it was, you're like going, really? Do you run the football there? Well, you do when you're handing it to that kid. I mean, Keegan Ellis can pick it up, but he did not. So, again, looks like we're going to line up in a punt formation. Of course, the ball is on about the 20 or the 32-yard line. I don't like the down and distance for a fake. So they'll probably try to punt it and pin them down inside the 10.
Carroll has only attempted 1 field goal all season long, and it was no good by Tanner Turnpaw. So instead, they just opt to punt the ball away into a very stiff headwind, and it's going to be fair caught right at the 10-yard line there for Carroll, for Clinton Prairie. So the Healthy Communities of Clinton County Coalition was formed in 2006 as a partnership of healthcare providers, service care providers, educators, and community leaders who are interested in addressing issues of the health in Clinton County and the community as well. Check it out at healthyclintoncounty.org, where healthy choice, the easy choice. For more information, healthyclintoncounty.org. So here's Clinton Prairie, starting their 3rd drive of the ball game after the interception given up to Carroll on the previous drive, and Wilson gets stood up right at the line of scrimmage.
A little confusion there on Carroll's side there. They didn't have enough players on the field, and Carey was kind of jumping around like going, hey, where's my guy? Normally there's a guy standing next to me, and right now there isn't. they got a guy out there, and they tried to run. Clinton Prairie did the same wham play off left tackle that got him their touchdown. But Carroll must have made a defensive adjustment because they shut it down.
Still held them to a gain of 2, though. On the fake pitch, going the other direction, it's going to be Davis. He turns the corner down past the 30, has one man to beat, now down to the 50 before other players catch up with him, but across the 45-yard line. What a big play there by Davis.
Yeah, basically just an inside reverse or counter. You're going to see the fake toss left. They bring it back. 73 there for Carroll. Andre Hernandez almost had him in the backfield. Really nice straight arm, stiff arm there. Now here, put the ball away, son. The ball swim is always a bad idea.
It's about a 45-yard gain there for Caden Davis. As we get to the end of quarter number 1. 13-6, Carroll on top of Clinton Prairie, but the Gophers are threatening. We'll take a quick timeout. Back in a moment on the ISC Sports Network.
Actually, I think there's 3 seconds left, and somebody must have called a timeout. You can see the officials aren't moving the ball, so somebody must have called timeout.
My apologies, jumped the gun on that right there as there's 3 seconds left. It looked like we were going to the end of quarter number 1. So a timeout actually taken here.
Yeah, I agree with you, Kurt. I really thought that, both teams, after they would set the ball, the officials set the ball, wind the clock, 3 seconds, let's flip sides. Obviously, and I didn't see which way the timeout went. We can look maybe on the board, does not. It says timeouts left, but there's nothing on the scoreboard. So anyway, I mean, one of the coaches must have decided that my kids need a break. They need to get some water and some air.
Well, just one more play here to end the first quarter here. So ball at the 46, and on the keeper is Dunford. He punches through and is careened there by Michael Carey. But before he gets across the 45 for a solid gain of about 3 yards. So with that, we take it now to the end of quarter number 1. And now we'll be back in a moment here on the ISC Sports Network.
I brought you a present. A book.
Follow the adventures of the Ardente Dental team as they fight cavities, gum disease, and create beautiful, healthy smiles.
Inconceivable.
Hello, my name is Dr. Snyder. You cause cavities. Prepare to die.
Inconceivable.
To make your smile look straight and fine, our braces per month are just $1.99.
Inconceivable.
You keep using that word, I do not think it means what you think it means.
Have fun at Ardente Dental.
The ISC Sports Network is your home for sports content across the Hoosier State. Find us live on TV and streaming or archived on our website and our app. The ISC is your one-stop shop for the content you want to see, including high school sports, college sports, and other great events throughout the year. Subscribe to our streaming service and get access to it all. ISC, local lives here.
It is a windy night here in Flora, here on the ISC Sports Network. Alongside Jim Leisure, I am Kurt Darling, as the Carroll Cougars lead the Gophers of Clinton Prairie 13-6 going to quarter number 2. Jim, your thoughts on that opening quarter?
Well, again, it seemed like it was all Carroll, but you know what? Clinton Prairie's only down a touchdown, and if you score a touchdown and get a 2-point conversion, you're actually winning. So if I'm Coach Slicker, I tell my kids, boys, we're all right. We're not playing well, but we're not playing bad.
So on the carry there was Kai Jacobs, and he gets that down to about the 40-yard line. In fact, that's where they spot him.
So a very reasonable 3rd and about 3, maybe 4. You have your entire playbook available to you here. You can run, you can pass, you can play action pass. Play action pass, I think, would be a big hit. Very successful under center here. So I'd fake the run and try to find somebody over the middle.
Man in motion here for Dunford as he hits Wilson again, and he tries to punch it ahead for a gain of 4 yards, and it looks like he's right at the line to gain. We'll see what the officials call. It might be a little bit short.
Well, this is one of those things we talked about, early in the pregame keys of the game, is you got to go for it here. I mean, there's no doubt about it. If you give it up on the 35, who cares? Your defense is actually playing fairly well. They seem to have tightened up that last series. You need the football, and you got to keep the football to keep Carroll off the field offensively, but obviously that's where they keep the points generally, is on the offensive side of the ball.
4th down and 1 here for Clinton Prairie, and that is an easy pickup for a first down as Dunford punches it through the line for a QB sneak. Gain of about 4 yards on that play.
Well, and this is, again, exactly what you want if you're Coach Slicker, and the Gophers here is a big first down, keeps the clock running, shortens the game, keeps Carroll's offense off the field. They can't score if they don't have it. Ideally, if you're Clinton Prairie, you want to go on about another 7 or 8 play drive, punch it in, go for 2, get it, and actually be up 14-13.
Coach Slicker in his first season at the helm of the Gophers, after spending 3 seasons at Crawfordsville and Jacobs, is absolutely eaten alive in the backfield. Loss of about 10 yards.
Tanner Turnpaul was there. A little confusion again. You see a defensive player for Carroll running off the field, but there's that big hit by Turnpaul. But they must have had 11, thought they had 12, and were able to defend with 10, and not only defend, but get a loss of 2 there.
It's actually only a loss of 2 yards there as the ball gets back to about the 35-yard line. Call it 2nd down and 12 as we tick under 10 minutes left here in the half. And Dunford with a lot of confusion in front of him right there as Jacobs ran into his own running back. And that just completely blew up the play. A sack goes down in the books here for Carroll.
Yeah, and again, probably ultimately is going to blow up the drive. Just as you see on the replay, the 2 running backs kind of collide. Miscommunications, guys. You got to communicate. Take a breath. Make sure everyone's on the same page. That's the quarterback's job. You can't, again, one guy think we're running power, another guy think we're running trap. You got to make sure everybody knows what we're doing. They don't huddle, and you can see it right here on the screen. Everyone's looking at their little wristbands, so communication becomes even more important.
Christian Tillman in on the sack there for Carroll as a throw goes over the middle from Dunford looking for Connor Cobb, and it falls incomplete, and it'll bring up a 4th down and long.
Yeah, and I know you see the replay here. Good protection there. Nice ball, just kind of overthrows it. But yeah, obviously I don't think you go 4th and almost 20 here. You got to punt the ball, try to play field position here. Now, if you're punting into the wind, you want to keep the ball low. You got to coach your punters. If you kick it up high, it's just going to blow right back at you. And I've seen some of these punts where they actually go past the line of scrimmage 7 or 8 yards and then bounce and come back and end up -1 or -2. So you want a line drive punt here.
Instead, it looks like it was blocked. So a net negative punt right there, Jim, as it went out of bounds before the line of scrimmage, right at the 40-yard line.
Yeah, we'll try to see who gets it there. I couldn't really get a number, but the ball was clearly
blocked. It may have been Little. Grady Little there in on the contact.
Yeah, it looks like a number 5 there. I think it is Lytle, or Little or Lytle, L-Y-T. I guess however he pronounces it there. But yeah, nice job. I mean, didn't get exactly what you wanted if you're Carroll, but certainly you got more than down to the 10.
Meanwhile, a solid defensive play there by the Gophers as you see Levi Osler get in there for a tackle for loss.
Osler does a really good job of what we call block destruction. You had a blocker coming. It was the right guard coming around to try to trap him or kick him out. And if you're a defensive lineman, you're taught to just attack that guy, blow that guy up, come out underneath it, and that's what he did. You can't take the easy way out. You can't go around that block. You got to blow that block up.
His first tackle for loss on the season. So a loss of 3. Here's the pitch to Ellis. He gains that 3 yards back and a lot more. First down yardage out across the 40-yard line and out of bounds at the Clinton Prairie 35.
It looked like Tyler Altick was over there finally to get him out of bounds, but just the old-fashioned, sweep. You toss it left, and Hunter Simpson out there, nice job of blocking on the perimeter.
About a 23-yard gain there for Ellis as it gets tackled out of bounds, so that stops the clock as they spot him right at the 39-yard line.
Kurt, it's such a funny game because about 3 plays ago, Clinton Prairie picks up a huge first down, seems to have a little bit of momentum, and now, honestly, it looks like it's going the other way.
Ellis punches through, gain of about 8 yards.
Connor Cobb on the tackle there for the Gophers.
Once again, Keegan Ellis approaching that 100-yard mark already here this evening. Longest run of the night so far, 35 yards on that touchdown run on the opening drive. That was also his 18th rushing touchdown this season. Give is to Ellis again. Gets the first down. Sheds a couple tacklers. Gets across the 20. Keeps his feet moving out at the 15.
Boy, he's just such a load. And again, I'm just sitting here thinking about if you're Coach Slicker, this is why coaches have either gray hair or no hair at all. I mean, you had momentum, and now it's obviously looking more and more like this is just all Carroll. And, you know, again, short of a big defensive stand here, they're probably going to punch one in. You were a couple plays away from being up 14-13, and now you're just a couple plays away from being down 20-6.
17 yards on the gain, a ball at the 18-yard line. Here's Little, and he gets stood up right at the line of scrimmage, but not before he falls forward for a gain of maybe 3.
That's pretty good football play. I mean, you know, offensively as a coach, about all you really want is 4 yards per play. If you can get it, and of course, you know, you'll take, 11 yards, but if you can get 3 or 4 per play and do that 4 times, you get a first down.
And this is a Carroll squad under the tutelage of head coach Blake Betzner, who also has the previous state championship winning coach John Hendricks on his staff right here as they coach Keegan Ellis inside the 10-yard line.
Yeah, I noticed that John's name was on there, and I know John from when Carroll was having their success in the mid-'90s. We were fortunate enough to be playing for a couple state championships when I was at Chittard, and so we would go to a lot of clinics and stuff, talk to John. I think he was at Winnemac last year for a couple years, and I guess tried to come home here to Carroll, and although he's technically a Winnemac boy, I think he graduated from Winnemac, but he was like 138 in his tenure the last time when he was the head coach at Carroll.
Tanner hands it off to Ellis again. He's right up the gut, standing up for another Carroll touchdown. 5-yard carry there for Ellis, his second touchdown of the night.
Again, just a little wham block there. You see number 5 stick his nose in there and come from his wing position to go inside and take off a linebacker. And it looks like Carroll's going to go ahead and go for 2. They're going to try to get their point back. A lot of coaches will say, we missed a PAT, so now we got to get our point back, boys.
Carroll missed the PAT on their previous drive for a touchdown as they go for 2 here. Tanner tries to find his man in the end zone, and he does. That is Evan Johnson on the reception. Not a very highly touted receiving tight end, but he gets his second catch of the season, incidents for 2 points. Take a look at the replay here.
Yeah, I think he might have been looking for Ellis. They were running what we call a flood cut, where you have 3 receivers into the flat, 1 at 5 yards, 1 at 10, 1 at 15. Ellis falls down, and I guess him falling down, his 6'4" frame, he was able to see over him.
So now Carroll getting ready to kick the ball away right here. And on the subject of John Hendricks being on the coaching staff here, Jim, believe it or not, it also helps for Blake Betzner when John Hendricks is your father-in-law.
That I did not know. I did not know the family connection. I just know that John Hendricks obviously spent a huge part of his teaching and coaching career in Flora. Again, had him took him back-to-back state championships. I think it was like 96, 97, maybe 95, 96. And then he went back home to his hometown, coached Winnemac for a year or 2, and now he's back in Flora.
John Hendricks led Carroll to a couple state championships in the mid-'90s. As you see, the Cougars send it into the end zone for a touchback that'll bring it back out to the 25-yard line here for Clinton Prairie. So, Jim, the Gophers, they've shown that they can move the ball against this very talented defense against Carroll. What do you do here on this drive with 6:20 left in the second?
Ideally, again, you'll hear all the time about a 2-minute offense. Well, there's also a thing called a 4 or 6-minute offense, and that's this right here at the end of the half, where you'd like to go the length of the field. And you just got to mix it up a little bit. Maybe some short passes, quicks, comebacks, hooks, those kinds of things, mixed with your running game.
Davis in motion. He's the blocker here for Wilson as he has some room. Gets across the 30-yard line, and that is good for a first down.
So again, obviously, you'd like to break that thing for 80 yards and go score with it, but you'll take the 10 or 11-yard gain, use a little bit of the clock, try to go down and get back in this football game.
This is a Gopher squad averaging 7 yards per carry on the ground all season long. 262 rushing yards is the average per game for the season. Dunford gives it off to Wilson again. He cuts it to the outside and carries a few tacklers with him out near the 40.
And you see a couple different things now. Clinton Prairie has gone to their version of a little bit of a wing tee, bringing people in and going to go to a run offense. Well, Carroll counters them with more of a goal line defense. I think if you're Clinton Prairie, you may want to think about doing the same.
Gain of 7 on the play there for Wilson. 2nd down and 3. Wilson doing all the work so far here. He gets across the line to gain for a 1st down out to the 45-yard line. And right here, Jim, you start seeing Clinton Prairie just getting in a rhythm.
Well, and it goes back to your question earlier, what do you do? Well, one of the things I like what Clinton Prairie's doing, they're getting in multiple formations. They're putting a lot of pressure on the defense. Hey, where are you going to line up? You going to bring your big kids in? Well, we're going to go wide. We're going to go, we go wide, you bring your little guys, we're going to bring our big guys in. So I like what they're doing, and you're right, they are getting some rhythm.
Ball just north of the 45. On the pitch to Davis. Was more successful the last time they ran that play, but he still gets positive yardage out to the 49.
Yeah, he just fought, and it looked like couldn't get a number on the Carroll defender, but he had him around the waist here. We'll see if we can get the number here.
It looks like on the tackle there for Carroll, that was Tanner Turnbaugh.
Yeah, it was 6. Okay, it looked like an 8, and I couldn't tell. But yeah, it was Turnbaugh, and he fought, but nice job getting the extra yardage.
3 backs in the backfield here for Clinton Prairie. And this time Dunford fakes the handoff, and he goes nowhere with it. Another sack on the books here for Carroll. That's Griffin Viney.
Well, he is a downhill player, and he's a safety, so if Viney's coming down like that, you see him just flash right in there, then he can't be playing pass. So you got to be able to throw some type of play action. He's vacating his secondary position, and I know they're covering for him. It's not a total vacate, but still he can't be both places at once. If he's down behind the line of scrimmage making tackles, then we got to find a way to get the football to where he just vacated.
So about a loss of 7 yards there makes it 3rd down and 12. Dunford back to pass, has to get rid of it, finds Davis in traffic, loses the football. Still on the ground. It's finally picked up there by one of the O-linemen of Clinton Prairie. That is Levi Osler, and he at least salvages the drive and salvages excellent field position from Carroll, as that's another loss of about 10 yards.
Well, the offensive lineman's dream here. The ball's loose on the ground, and honestly, he just needs a fall on it right here. We've always coached our kids. You get one shot to pick it up, and when you don't pick it up, it's over. But Osler jumps on like it's a sack of White Castles. Nice job there. He's got to be thrilled. His first quasi-carry of his career, I'm sure.
Well, now I know where I'm going to eat after this game. So a punting formation here for Clinton Prairie.
You got to talk the language. I used to coach O-linemen, and I used to tell them, boys, if you see the ball on the ground, you got to get on it like it's a sack of White Castles. That's what they know. That's what they understand, right? If you just said something else, they'd have no idea what you're talking about.
In other words, you're saying it's imperative that you just fall on the ball.
Yes.
So now we have a
illegal
substitution here on Clinton Prairie, so it just adds insult to injury on this drive that has just completely collapsed for the Gophers.
See, once again, this is another drive where they've gotten a couple 1st downs, and then they just shoot themselves in the foot. Now, to explain that penalty a little bit, illegal substitution, the officials are taught that if there's 12 men on the field, try to blow it dead, and let's just do the illegal substitution 5-yard penalty. If we don't count it or don't stop it before it's 12, that's illegal participation, and that's 15.
So a low punt into a very stiff headwind only gets out to maybe about 20 yards ahead, so it's still going to be a positive yardage and positive field position for Carroll as they take over with 2:48 left here in the second.
I'll tell you, Kurt, this is an example of, as a coach, and we talked about this in my 26 years, if you're Clinton Prairie, you're playing just well enough to lose. I mean, you're getting good yardage, you're getting first downs, but then stupid mistakes, penalties, fumbles, all those things, you know, you just can't finish. And you know, you always hear, they played just well enough to win. Right now, Clinton Prairie is just playing well enough to lose. They're not playing bad, they're just not playing well.
So ball at the 47 here for the Cougars. Ellis again on the carry. Squirts his way through the line, pick up about 6 yards.
Nice tackle there by Seth Whitlock. And Whitlock, the junior, does what I've been saying. He just goes around the ankles. You know, several years ago, Coach Carroll and his staff at Seattle, they came up with this thing they called the hawk tackle, the Seahawk tackle. And it's about basically going low, wrapping, and then rolling. They likened it to be like a supposedly. I've never been attacked by an alligator, but tonight I know, you never know. When an alligator grabs you, he takes you down and rolls you, and that's what they try to teach their guys: wrap and roll, wrap and roll.
Ellis again, he's certainly wrapped but not rolled as he gets across the line to gain.
Yeah, that was done for there that had him around the waist. That's not where you want him. That kid's just going to keep running. You've got to wrap those legs.
Gain of 9 yards there by Ellis, who, as I mentioned earlier, is approaching that 100-yard mark tonight. He needed 98 coming into tonight to reach the 1,000-yard mark on the season.
And Dunford's just going for a ride, man. At that point, you got to wrap the legs.
Pitch to Ellis. Has a lot of room in front of him. Gets down past the 20. Still on his feet. Takes a licking. Gets close to the end zone.
Yeah, I think they're going to say he stepped out.
And they say it stepped out well ahead of the 10-yard line, but still a solid gain.
Yeah, and we're not going to be able to see it, but it's going to be about at the 10-yard line, so try to watch right there. You know, does his foot go out? I mean, from this angle, it's impossible to tell. The official was right there. We certainly have to trust his judgment.
Call it an 18-yard gain there for Ellis. Puts the ball inside of the 15. Ellis again tries to punch it up. And he's wrapped up at the legs. There by the defensive line of the Gophers. Landon Hughes on the tackle.
Yeah, Landon listed as an offensive starter and an occasional defensive player. So both teams starting to spell a little bit here as we have a timeout on the field.
So a timeout taken by Carroll. Here as they have about 92 seconds left here in this second quarter. Jim Leisure, Kurt Darling here with you as Coach Betzner just talks things over here with Carroll. Needless to say, it's been a pretty by-the-book night here for the Cougars.
Yeah, and if you're Clinton Prairie here, you got to really implore to your kids how important it is to keep these guys out of the end zone here. If you keep them out of the end zone, you know, you're still in this thing. If they get in, and they'll probably kick the extra point, 28-6 is going to be hard to overcome against this defense and the type of offense that you run.
So far, the main player tonight has been Keegan Ellis, has got the majority of the carries, but a handful of carries as well to Grady Little as well as Cohen Ayers. Little had a 12-yard scamper for a touchdown on the second possession for Carroll. As the Cougars come back out here with this one. Clinton Prairie, as we mentioned earlier, has not won a sectional championship ever in school history. They're 5-2 this year, looking to try and snap that streak here as Ellis just dinks and dunks his way through many players, and he's in for his third score of the night.
Oh, really nicely done by the Carroll Cougars there. Again, just off left tackle. They've made a lot of hay over there on the left side. And you're going to see here just a little reverse pivot by the quarterback, pulling the right guard around, little left power. Nice block there by number 59. That was Trey Pagan who got around there.
Extra point is up and through the uprights this time as Carroll makes it now a 28-6 ball game. Back in a moment here on the ISC Sports Network.
High school sports fans, welcome back to Game Time, to pure spirits, to pure sport. Welcome back to high school sports.
Fans, I'm IHSAA Commissioner Paul Knighty, and I just want to say, welcome back.
This is Game Time. This is Indiana high school sports. This is your IHSAA.
It's a blustery night here in Flora, here on the ISC Sports Network. Jim Leisure, Kurt Darling here with you as the Carroll Cougars, they have scored So far, 20 unanswered points after being up 13-6 early, giving up that touchdown to Clinton Prairie. It has been all Cougars since then. As Turnpaw puts his boot into it, and with that tailwind at his back, he sends it deep, and it's going to be brought out here by Seth Whitlock. Whitlock spins around a few tacklers before he gets back out to the 25-yard line. So all things considered on that long kick there from Turnpaw, that's actually a pretty good return there by Whitlock.
Yeah, I was a little surprised, you would think, because the previous one, he had kicked it into the end zone for a touchback. You would think that the return man would have maybe backed up 10 yards. Your coaches would have said, hey, guys, he's got about a 40-mile-an-hour wind behind him. Back up. He could have caught that on the run, and who knows where it may have ended up. He brought it out to almost the 25 or the 26, but if he'd have caught it in the air and not let it bounce and had a running start coming forward, he may have got to the 40. Game awareness is a big deal. Honestly, coaches get paid to do it, and if they don't do it, then hopefully the kids are smart to figure it out. We'll see what Clinton Prairie does here.
So the Gophers have 77 seconds to work with here as you see Connor Cobb under center this time here for the Gophers. He is listed as the backup QB on the depth chart here for Clinton Prairie.
Yeah, and he's actually thrown the football a little bit. He's 14 of 20 for 198 yards, does have an interception and 2 touchdown passes. They don't appear to be in a real big hurry, however.
Connor Cobb is the starting tight end regularly here for Clinton Prairie, being shuffled over under center at the moment. So that'll slide Seth Whitlock back up into the tight end role for the moment. Cobb hands it off again to Davis, and he tries to turn the corner. He cuts back to the middle, just trying to dance his way around some defenders. He only gains maybe a couple yards after that.
Now again, the little inside reverse, inside counter, and nice job of Carroll defensively of just pursuing the football. He tried multiple times to change direction. It's just not there. As you can see, the fake toss left and the give underneath. Lots of blue shirts just kind of shuffling over to that sideline, using the sideline as that 12th defender, giving him nowhere to go.
And with that, Clinton Prairie is content to just let the clock run out as we take it to halftime. It's been all Carroll Cougars here in this one as we have 2 quarters down, 2 more to go. 28-6 is your halftime score. The Cougars on top of the Gophers. We'll take another quick timeout. Halftime coming at you next here on the ISC Sports Network.
Many communities in rural America are often overlooked as underserved. These communities are being left behind due to lack of internet and access to state-of-the-art technology. That's why Mulberry Telecommunications provides rural broadband services and technology and is growing their presence in north central Indiana. Because every community deserves infrastructure and beyond. To learn more, contact us today.
Whether in Tipton or Clinton County, Encompass Credit Union, community-minded just like you. At Encompass, personal member service and convenient technology go hand in hand in making your financial experience effortless. Encompass Credit Union takes part in many of the things that make our communities special, keeping your money working right here. Encompass strives to support the local community by sponsoring sports teams, community groups, and school events. Encompass Credit Union in Tipton and Frankfort, community-minded just like you.
I brought you a present. A book.
Follow the adventures of the Ardente Dental team as they fight cavities, gum disease, and create beautiful, healthy smiles.
Inconceivable.
Hello, my name is Dr. Snyder. You cause cavities. Prepare to die.
Inconceivable.
To make your smile look straight and fine, our braces per month are just $1.99.
Inconceivable.
You keep using that word, I do not think it means what you think it means.
Have fun at Ardente Dental.
The ISC Sports Network is your home for sports content across the Hoosier State. Find us live on TV and streaming or archived on our website and our app. The ISC is your one-stop shop for the content you want to see, including high school sports, college sports, and other great events throughout the year. Subscribe to our streaming service and get access to it all. ISC, local lives here.
High school sports fans, welcome back to Game Time, to pure spirits, to pure sports. Welcome back to high school sports.
Fans, I'm IHSAA Commissioner Paul Knighty, and I just want to say, welcome back.
This is game time. This is Indiana high school sports. This is your IHSAA.
Ball here. Harris scores. With 19 seconds. Fake players, big boy. I'm telling you right now, that's awesome. I love it. That's the finish. You get a layup, take it, and an and one.
It's homecoming night here in Florida, Indiana, as the Carroll Cougars are celebrating a good homecoming event so far here tonight as they lead the Clinton Prairie Gophers 28-6. Alongside Jim Leisure, I am Kurt Darling. Jim, and needless to say, both teams have been able to show they can move the ball, but Carroll, they just have a very well-oiled machine on the ground, especially led by Keegan Ellis.
Yeah, I was going to say right now just too much Keegan Ellis, and Clinton Prairie has had that one long drive for a touchdown, and they have had some good starts, but then they always just seem to have a fumble or a penalty or something. So, again, it's just a matter of being able to finish drives, finish what you start if you're Coach Schlicker at Clinton Prairie, and for Carroll Cougars, just keep playing Carroll football.
Of course, it's also a chilly night as well. You see many of the traveling fans from Clinton Prairie bundled up along the far side of the field there. And believe it or not here, Jim, it actually feels like fall football now here out there.
Well, finally, and this is the way, again, in my 26 years as a coach, and this is the way it always normally went. Week 5 or 6, it was always still a little warm. 7 and 8, 9, you start getting into playoff football, starts getting a little cooler. And then once the playoff starts, it's anybody's ball game. You can get a foot of snow, or it could be 82. You just got to play whatever the weather gods give you.
Was there ever any particular game you remember that was just absolutely awful at this point of the year in your coaching career?
Yeah, I remember one year we were, I think, at Delta, and the wind was blowing about 40 miles an hour. It was literally raining sideways, and it did it the whole game. It never did let up. It was, neither team could really move the football. It was grass fields back then, and so the middle of the field was destroyed. You had to run to the grass. And defensively, it was pretty easy to tell what the other team was going to do because they were going to run to the grass. It was the only place you could go, and I think the game ended up being 6-0. But yeah, and every now and then you get those games, and that's one of the reasons why I don't coach anymore.
You still have a grass field here, though, at Carroll.
Right.
Meanwhile, of course, you see a lot of different teams now going to those artificial turf fields here. So it's, you still have that old-fashioned grass field here in Flora, and they maintain it really well here as you see a excellent night here for homecoming.
Yeah, I know that there's obviously a financial hit to taking the turf, but honestly, turf allows the band to go out and stomp on it whenever they want, allows the soccer team to play on it, allows PE classes to go out on it 5 or 6 times a day. Right now, that is a beautiful field, as you see on the screen there, but that's because nobody ever uses it except the football team. And that's, again, it's unfortunate because the rest of the kids in the building should have the right to go out there as well.
So it's still homecoming here at Carroll as we get going through the homecoming festivities. Meanwhile, we'll take another quick timeout. Carroll on top of Clinton Prairie here in this one, 28-6 on the ISC Sports Network.
Finding affordable, quality reproductive health care isn't always easy. Did you know that there is now a family planning and reproductive health clinic in our area that is income-based? Services include Pap tests, breast cancer screenings, pregnancy tests, sexually transmitted infection and HIV testing, same-day birth control placement, filled prescriptions, and free condoms. Services are on an income-based sliding scale. Visit 1234 Rossville Avenue or call 659-6063 for more information or to schedule an appointment.
Hi, I'm Query.
And I'm Schultz.
And, of course, we do the incredibly creatively and appropriately named Query and Schultz program every Monday on ISC Sports Network. Derek, it airs at what time?
7:30.
Okay, every Monday at 7:30. We're now on season number 2, and if history tells us anything, catch us now because you never know when they pull the plug on it.
Why would you say that?
Because it's happened
That's not
before.
going to happen here. Comcast, Xfinity 81, ISCSportsNetwork.com, ISC Sports Network, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, so many places to watch Query and Schultz, 7:30 on Monday.
Here at Encompass Credit Union, we're the community-minded people who invest in our community by giving back in every way we can. Be community-minded. Shop, invest, and volunteer locally.
We're community-minded in all we try to do. Community-minded, just like you.
Encompass Encompass Credit Union, now serving you in Tipton, Frankfort, and Kokomo. Find us online at encompasscu.org.
Your life is on the go. Now your viewing habits can be on the go. With the ISC Sports Network app, your team is at your fingertips. You can download years' worth of content from the ISC Sports Network library. High school, college, special events, weekly and monthly shows, wherever you find your favorite app. And you can always find out more information at iscsportsnetwork.com.
For the ultimate Wi-Fi experience, you need a managed Wi-Fi service with advanced Blast Wi-Fi. Blast Wi-Fi systems provide ultimate coverage, ultimate performance, and ultimate power all the time. Available from Mulberry Telecommunications, Blast Wi-Fi systems feature the latest Wi-Fi 6 technology and are equipped with unrivaled bandwidth and 4 times more simultaneous connections, so you can connect tons of devices throughout your home with no lag and no downtime. Plus, with 24/7 support and remote troubleshooting, you can rest assured that Mulberry Telecommunications is always here to help you should any issues arise. It's the ultimate Wi-Fi experience, and it's a blast. Blast Wi-Fi is now included with Mulberry Telecommunications fiber internet packages. Contact Mulberry Telecommunications at 296-2885 today to get started.
Welcome back here to the ISC Sports Network as the homecoming court being announced here. As you can see, Michael Carey going to be the homecoming king here at Carroll High School. Well, before we go any further here, Flora, you have a special thing coming here to you from Mulberry Telecommunications. Fiber optic internet's coming to you. Here's more on what you can expect.
Your 2022.
Many communities in rural America are often overlooked as underserved. These communities are being left behind due to lack of internet and access to state-of-the-art technology. Access to broadband internet could be the difference between providing an education and leaving new generations behind.
Living in rural America, the biggest obstacle was that we were trying to find a comprehensive approach to address the complexities of my son's autism. I mean, we needed people that could break down the complex issues that we were experiencing, that I understood what I needed to do. That by having high-speed internet, we were able to get the resources and the education we needed.
Mulberry has recognized that there is a need in our community for broadband internet. This has been something that we have been focusing on for the last 10 years. The needs that are all around us with jobs and schools and medicine and many layers of needs that are out there now. But it's not just that, it's the bandwidth required for those needs. You think about any normal residential family and look at what they're doing on a daily basis. It changes a lot, but the bandwidth requirements seem to be that consistent element of this. But also even more than that, we're starting to expand into the CLEC portion, which is the non-traditional boundaries that we have. And so for us, it's a natural transition because of our aggressive stance with fiber and where we hope to go even in the future. So it's enabled us to be in that place where as we build out these networks, we're seeing the needs of today, but we're also doing it and recognizing the needs of tomorrow and trying to build out that way.
Fiber optic technology can enhance a community's way of life and provide new opportunities never before available. Luckily, local organizations are working together to solve the problems that major telecom providers have ignored.
Being able to deploy new technologies like fiber optic internet, for example, I think is imperative. And during the pandemic, we've kind of seen that. Everybody, regardless of location, needs to be able to work, attend school, even consult with doctors completely remotely. And that's something nobody could have predicted 2 years ago. So having access regardless of location is, well, necessary to be able to handle challenges like we're facing now in the future.
Getting access to make things beneficial for our customers, that's the key, that's the name of the game, is how can we get connected to even those furthest reaches that are out there. We started from the outside and started to work in, so a lot of our rural customers, as we built out our fiber network, they received the benefit first. And as we start to look at our future and how we're forecasting what's next for us, and we want to be able to go into these areas that we recognize a need for, and go in and do what we do best, which is serve them with broadband internet. And being able to allow that rural customer the privilege to be on that network, and that's what motivates us.
Well, originally when we were with the slower internet, it was always frustrating because we couldn't communicate well with one another. A lot of the teaching and a lot of how they're training me about nutrition or about other things that I need to do within my home, the internet connection was slow or what I was saying was getting all muffled, then that's very frustrating. Definitely with high-speed internet, everything was just perfect. We were able to communicate back and forth as far as what was going on in the videos that I was sending to them, and so that was huge. I was able to really communicate, and that's what's necessary.
Mulberry Telecommunications provides rural broadband services and technology for over 100 years. Their mission is to provide an essential infrastructure for their community and beyond.
We have lived in this house for 15 years, and it's in a rural area, and we were having terrible internet service, and that was very frustrating because I wanted to be able to run my business. I wanted to be able to also communicate with a clinic that was in Philadelphia. So there was goals that I wanted to achieve, and those goals were not going to be achieved without high-speed internet. So we approached Mulberry, and we told them what our needs were, and they met those needs. They went above and beyond, and the service has been perfect.
I grew up in a rural community myself, so I understand the pain of not having any access to broadband whatsoever. So I love that every day we get to solve those challenges for everybody. Also, honestly, I just like the challenge and love the learning opportunities that come with it. This career field is so broad and vast that I feel like I could go for another 40 years and not fully master every part of it, and I think that's awesome.
Mulberry is a cooperative built and managed by local community members with the mission to provide equal opportunity and state-of-the-art technology to Americans in rural communities. Mulberry strives to provide outstanding customer service and enhance their customers' way of life.
When I started at Mulberry 5 years ago, we were using less than a sixth of our current internet traffic today. Now, after the pandemic, we've seen customers use their internet at all times throughout the day. So we're really focused on reliability, redundancy, and scalability looking into the future.
With the world that's really shaking a lot around us, we can be that stable force. We can be that connection point to get them to whatever they need to do, no matter if it's very high and of importance or if it's very low and it's just something to do for fun. As a telecommunications provider, we want to be that connection point to our customers. Our mission at Mulberry is to serve the rural community. It has been that way for 100 years and will continue to be that.
To learn more, contact us today.
The ISC Sports Network is your home for sports content across the Hoosier State. Find us live on TV and streaming or archived on our website and our app. The ISC is your one-stop shop for the content you want to see, including high school sports, college sports, and other great events throughout the year. Subscribe to our streaming service and get access to it all. ISC, local lives here.
This is your IHSAA. This is your state. This is your high school. This is your athletic association.
Fans, I'm IHSAA Commissioner Paul Knighty, and we're here to make sure that all of this remains yours.
This is your state. This is your community. This is your IHSAA.
Living up to that last name. Wabash has the lead for the first time today. Said that was going to be a highlight reel. Oh, baby. Yeah, you can celebrate after that.
There is something for everyone to love at Mulberry Pizza King. We have fresh salads, hot sandwiches, frozen treats, and fountain drinks. And of course, pizza. Always made to order and cooked in our ovens until your pizza is fit for a king. So come see why we've been a Mulberry tradition since 1974. Dine in at 137 South Glick Street in Mulberry or call 296-2344 to place a carry-out order.
We're in a lull period here at halftime here on the ISC Sports Network as Carroll leading Clinton Prairie 28-6 here in Hoosier Heartland Conference action. Alongside Jim Leisure, I am Kurt Darling here, Jim. So both teams have had a pretty lengthy halftime period here. Of course, it's halftime at Carroll, it's homecoming at Carroll right now. They crowned the king and queen while we were in a break, but needless to say, you're back at it here for Carroll, the Carroll Cougars. I mean, there's pretty much nothing else that you really need to do differently going into the second half.
No, if you're Carroll, you just got to say, guys, we got to clean up a little bit of things defensively. Clinton Prairie has had a couple of drives where they've gotten multiple first downs, more than one. So we're going to clean that up defensively. Offensively, we're just going to keep doing what we do. And hopefully, again, the goal is always to get that running clock and get off the field before you get somebody hurt.
Of course, you have, for that running clock threshold, you have to get to the 35-point mark here. That's the difference between scores. So that means if you're Carroll, you would probably have to get at least 40 points here, but rather 41 points here if you don't allow Clinton Prairie to score again to get to that running clock threshold, in which case the clock would keep running regardless of if it's an incomplete pass. The only time you ever stop the clock is if you call a timeout or if there's some other stoppage in play that necessitates stopping the clock there. But meanwhile, for Clinton Prairie, what do you do to avoid such an instance?
I use the word finish a lot. When I coached, we had teams like this that were good enough to to move the football, but then they just couldn't finish. And everything we did in practice, and right now at halftime, I'm talking about finish. Finish the drive, finish the block, finish the catch, finish the run. Guys, we got to finish. Finish our homework, finish the meal, finish everything. And that's because if they can do those things, they have a shot to get back in this thing.
Let's take a look at some halftime stats here as we have been amalgamating those throughout the break here so far. Needless to say, it's been a very hefty rushing game for Carroll as they have 210 yards on the ground. That is the entirety of their offense tonight. They also have 2 sacks. Meanwhile, if you're Clinton Prairie, they have 95 official rushing yards on the ground. Now, those 58 passing yards coming only on those little tips to Clayton Davis, who had a big, hefty gain to get a chunk of those passing yards.
Yeah, again, you look at, you talk about no passing yards for Carroll. Legendary coach Woody Hayes used to say, if you throw the football, 3 things can happen and 2 of them are bad. So keep it on the ground, 3 yards of cloud of dust. And that certainly seems to be Carroll's philosophy here.
You also have Clinton Prairie getting that 1 turnover there early on, and that was really pretty much the difference maker early on, where you had Clinton Prairie pretty much going neck and neck with Carroll, but then Dunford threw a very untimely interception on his first pass of the game.
Yeah, Griffin Viney came in and, like we've said twice now, just like a rocket, just appeared on screen and either made a big tackle or, in that case, made a big interception.
You also have 1 tackle for loss and a sack as well by Caden Davis for Clinton Prairie going into the second half here. So back in here in the studios here alongside Jim Leisure, I am Kurt Darling. So, Jim, we're getting down close here. The sectional pairing show is tomorrow as we get set for postseason play here in the IHSAA football season.
Always a big deal to the kids, the fans, and the coaches. Coaches want to know who they play. They're already going to start preparing. Obviously, you have week 9. Maybe you're playing for a conference championship. Maybe you're playing for an undefeated season. But always in the back of your mind, you're playing for week 10.
Indeed it is. That'll be something good to look forward to as well. We'll take one final timeout. The second half coming at you next here on the ISC Sports Network.
Many communities in rural America are often overlooked as underserved. These communities are being left behind due to lack of internet and access to state-of-the-art technology. That's why Mulberry Telecommunications provides rural broadband services and technology, and is growing their presence in north central Indiana. Because every community deserves infrastructure and beyond. To learn more, contact us today.
Whether in Tipton or Clinton County, Encompass Credit Union, community-minded just like you. At Encompass, personal member service and convenient technology go hand in hand in making your financial experience effortless. Encompass Credit Union takes part in many of the things that make our communities special, keeping your money working right here. Encompass strives to support the local community by sponsoring sports teams, community groups, and school events. Encompass Credit Union in Tipton and Frankfort, community-minded just like you.
I brought you a present, a book,
Follow the adventures of the Ardente Dental team as they fight cavities, gum disease, and create beautiful, healthy smiles.
Inconceivable.
Hello, my name is Dr. Snyder. You cause cavities. Prepare to die.
Inconceivable.
To make your smile look straight and fine, our braces per month are just $1.99.
Inconceivable.
You keep using that word, I do not think it means what you think it means.
Have fun at Ardente Dental.
The ISC Sports Network is your home for sports content across the Hoosier State. Find us live on TV and streaming or archived on our website and our app. The ISC is your one-stop shop for the content you want to see, including high school sports, college sports, and other great events throughout the year. Subscribe to our streaming service and get access to it all. ISC, local lives here.
Tonight's broadcast on the ISC Sports Network brought to you by Encompass Credit Union, who proudly serves Tipton, Clinton, and Howard counties and strives to support the local community and give back in every way that it can by sponsoring sports teams, backing local organizations, community groups, and school events. Check us out at encompasscu.org. Alongside Jim Leisure, I'm Kurt Darling. Jim, 2 quarters of football left to be played here. If you're Carroll, you're just looking to keep things going and close this thing out going into the final week where they take on Eastern of Greentown coming up here on October 14th.
Yeah, and more specifically right now, Turnpaul has the wind to his back, so if your receivers, these kickoff return men, they want to be all the way back, maybe feet on the 5-yard line. It's a lot easier to come up and catch a football in the air than it is to catch it going backwards. Plus, backwards is not good from a momentum standpoint. So if you're Clinton Prairie, you really want a big return here. I'd back that front 5 you see on the screen there. Those guys are right on almost a 50. I'd back those guys up so that they could sprint back and block. The deeper you can block, the least amount of time you got to block. If you're blocking somebody to 40, you got to block it for 6 seconds. That's probably not going to happen. So sprint back and get deep. We'll see if Clinton Prairie. That is they got to get off to a big start here.
And my apologies, I looked at the wrong schedule. Clinton Prairie going to be playing Eastern of Greentown next week. Meanwhile, Carroll is going to be staying right here at home against Sheridan, a tough opponent in Bud Wright, here to close out the season next week. But Clinton Prairie going to be starting the second half with the football after that long kick. It's taken back there by Kai Jacobs, the freshman. He gets it out past the 30-yard line. A good return.
Yeah, nice starting position there. Again, you notice that he was back deep. He was able to catch the football coming forward. And that's an extra 8-10 yards of just momentum that you get as the kickoff team comes down the field. Let's see if Coach Slicker and his squad can keep this momentum and actually finish a drive.
Again, Coach Slicker coming to Clinton Prairie after spending his first 3 seasons as a head coach in the IHSAA with Crawfordsville. He went 7-30 in that stretch, and not a good start to the second half here, but Davis is able to pick the ball up, but he is spun around and tackled in the backfield, and they go backwards, a loss of 5 on the first play.
Yeah, I think that was the homecoming king there, number 32, Michael Carey, who went in there and kind of basically flexed some of his royalty here. You're going to see him finish up on this tackle. He's the one that kind of really brings him down on the ground right there. All shoulder pad, nice tackle.
He's now over 50 tackles on the season with that. That's also, believe it or not, that's his second tackle for loss on the season. He never had a tackle for loss until this very night. He also had 2.5 sacks. Here's Cobb with a low pass right at the feet of Jacob Wilson, and that has fallen incomplete. And that's something to observe here, Jim, is the fact that Jacob Wilson, he was pretty much not heard from at all in that second quarter for Clinton Prairie.
Well, and again, the one thing it does look like Coach Slicker has decided to do maybe is go with Cobb a little bit more in this second half. He's a little bit more of a thrower, and that's how they think hopefully they can get back in this game.
Cobb on the keeper. Gets it back across the 35-yard line to at least make up some of the lost yardage, but that was 3rd down and 12, so it's going to be another 3-and-out situation for Clinton Prairie.
Well, you're going to see Viney come in here and just like he shot out of a cannon, and again, good wrap of the legs. Defensive coaches talk about players, and they say, he's a hunter. He likes to hunt. Viney's a hunter. He likes to just zero in on that football and come downhill, and, they always tell you when you get there, be in a bad mood. He looks like he's awfully upset about something.
Griffin Viney, the leading tackler of this defensive unit for the Cougars coming into tonight. So it's a high punt into the wind. You can see it stall, but it takes a Clinton Prairie bounce down across the 35. First decent punt of the night for the Gophers, and now Carroll really going to have to work for it for the first time this evening. They're averaging a starting position in plus territory tonight.
Yeah, and again, this isn't bad field position for an offense. You're about the 33. Really nice punt, though. Again, a little higher maybe than I would like it if I was coaching the punters, but they got the roll, and I guess that's all that counts.
So once again, you see Luke Tanner coming out to lead this offense. He only threw a handful of passes in the first half. None of them were completed. All of the yards on the ground here tonight for Carroll.
Which is where they want to keep it. Obviously, they want to just kind of get in this wing tee. We have a dead ball in the field for some reason.
And it looks like a timeout taken here by Clinton Prairie, it appears.
The only thing I can think is maybe they did not have the right personnel on the field.
So while we're in a timeout, tonight's broadcast sponsored by Ardente Dental, who is a team of professional smile makers dedicated to leading the community to optimal health. Straighten your smile and improve your confidence today by contacting Ardente Dental at 765-654-7222 or visit ardentedental.com.
And we already talked about the 35-point differential. You know, if you're Carroll, you know, you'd like to get those 2 touchdowns and extra points, make it 42-6, get that thing started. Now, I do like that rule. The one thing I don't like about it is I think if a team is able to fight back and get it back under 35, they ought to go back to normal rules. I think they feel like from an officiating standpoint, they're going to keep it simple. Probably an illegal snap here.
We have a flag on the play.
I didn't see it, but I'm going to guess from you'll see the illegal procedure signal from the head referee. The umpire is the one who threw it, so I'm going to guess that the center must have picked the ball up and set it back down.
So a loss of 5 yards. That's only the second penalty committed by Carroll tonight. As Tanner spins around, gives the handoff to Lytle, and he is corralled in the backfield for a loss of a few yards.
That was Levi Osler there, 62. Now Carroll needs to make sure that they're all set for a second here, or it's a count, actually, is how the rule says. Just interpret the word account to be 1 second. You got linemen getting down in their stances, and you got guys going in motion at the same time. That's an illegal shift.
Michael Carey coming in at the tight end position for Carroll. So that was a loss of 6 yards, as this time the handoff is to, looked like that might have been Viney on the carry. No, it was Ellis, excuse me. So Ellis gets the carry. That makes up a couple of yards.
Caden Davis himself, 6'4", but just 180, but it's able to go up there and make that play.
As we tick inside of 10 minutes, and just to add to that point of the running clock, just to clarify, once you get to that 35-point threshold, the clock does not stop at all, even if you get back within that 35-point threshold. So it is a running clock for the remainder of the game once you get there. Here's Tanner looking to pass. Instead, it's going to be another sack for Clinton Prairie, their second of the night.
Well, Osler got in there. Also, number 54, Logan Kirstner was there. Really probably looks like 58 maybe was there as well, 55.
That would be Landon Hughes with the help as well. Levi Osler getting the official credit for the sack.
Braxton Nail, 55, was there as well.
And so a punting formation here as Clinton Prairie forces Carroll to go 3 and out for the first time tonight. And it takes a Carroll bounce across midfield down to the 44. So change of possession here at Jim. Clinton Prairie, they get a stop on defense. Now you just try and matriculate the ball down the field.
Yeah, as old Hank Stram used to say in those NFL videos. And, you know, again, it's a little thing, but they have won a little bit of the field position battle here by trading punts. They started their drive on, I think it was like the 32. Now they're starting at the 42. So you've gained 10 yards of field position here. Let's see if you can make it count.
This is a Gophers squad that started the year 4-0 for the first time since they went 7-0 back in 2010. As the handoff to the running back for the Gophers, and that is a solid 5-yard gain.
Yeah, really good push there by the offensive line. Osler, Ramsey, Hughes, Nemo, and Kirshner there actually got some good movement.
And that was Seth Whitlock on the carry. He is Jacob Wilson's backup on the depth chart. And once again, 3 backs in the backfield with Cobb still under center for Clinton Prairie. Cobb sends his man in motion. The handoff is to Whitlock again, and he keeps his feet moving across the line to gain.
That's what we call the down play, where everybody on the right side blocks to the left, and the right guard pulls out and kicks out the defensive end outside linebacker. That's a play that Carroll ran earlier in the ball game for a big touchdown, and now Clinton Prairie's. And again, Clinton Prairie's changing up formations a lot. They're more wing T. Right now they're in a little bit of a wing. They got 2 wings and a single back, but they also got a spread so they can throw the football, so putting a little pressure on the Cougar defense.
Gophers in plus territory for the first time since the first quarter, as Cobb nearly fumbles the snap, has to keep it himself as the play is broken, and that's a tackle for loss by Cohen Ayers, excuse me.
Yeah, nice job by Ayers. And again, one of those things, you know, Cobb is not normally your quarterback. He's not your everyday guy, and so sometimes handling that exchange from the center can be a little bit hard there. The center Landon Hughes there. It's one of those things where you just got to practice it, and it really is honestly a feel. But they got to communicate. If Hughes doesn't like where he's putting his hands, he needs to tell him, you got to go out, whatever. But you got to get that handoff.
Here's Davis with the handoff, has a little bit of a hole, making up the lost yardage, fumbles the football, and they're going to say he was not down, and it's recovered by Carroll.
Yeah, once again, another drive, get a couple first downs, shoot yourself in the foot.
That's the second fumble on the night for Caden Davis.
Really, really nice job, though, on the football play, but just not protecting the ball. And I can't remember if he was the young man earlier in the game that was doing the ball swim. You know, if you carry it like a loaf of bread, you're going to drop it, and he did.
One fumble he had earlier today was not recovered by Carroll. This time it was. And so Clinton Prairie had a promising drive, just snuffed out again, as Carroll looks to try and take advantage of it. Here's Ellis, again just staying upright, that strong frame, carrying 2 or 3 tacklers out past the 40.
And once again, those tacklers above the waist. Everybody's just wanting to, and you can get away with that. Some backs in your league, they're not huge, but watch where all these hits are above the waist. You're not going to tackle anybody. They're not going to tackle that kid like that. I mean, unless you get 6 of them like they did there. But, yeah, I mean, you're going to have to get, you get in bad habits when you play teams that maybe have smaller running backs that aren't quite as powerful. You can wrestle them to the ground above the waist. You ain't going to wrestle Keegan Ellis down. He's going to keep running.
So that's a 10-yard gain and a first down for the Cougars. And now the Cougars taking their time as they're going to try and run down as much clock as they can to protect this lead.
Smart strategy. Not enough coaches, in my opinion, use the clock nowadays.
Here's Ellis. He gets hit right at the line of scrimmage and is tripped up, but not before he gains at least a yard.
Yeah, a lot of coaches are so caught up nowadays in running up stats and points. And honestly, to quote former NFL coach Herman, but you play to win the game. And that's what you're going to do. If you shorten this game, you use all 40 seconds, and let's say you win 35-6, you still won. Get in the bus, or in this case, get in the locker room and go home. You don't have to humiliate anybody. Just win the game.
Again, Carroll taking their time. The handoff to Ellis again. And it almost looked like he lost the football there. He keeps it as he falls forward for another gain of 2.
Well, great penetration there that time by Landon Hughes and Avery Nemo, who just got in there and disrupted that. One of the things you can do to these teams that like to pull guards, and Carroll loves to pull their guards, is you got to get penetration, and you got to get your defensive lineman across the line of scrimmage, and then those guards run into them. And if they're running into your defensive lineman, then they're not getting up and kicking out your linebackers, and now your linebackers are running free. So Clinton Prairie, the last couple plays actually have done a nice job, only giving up about 1.5 yards.
Ayers in motion. Tanner looking to pass, and that is just short of his tight end looking for Johnson.
Yeah, clearly not, what Carroll does well. Nice job, Clinton Prairie. Again, I've said that this will be the 6th time I think I've said it. Clinton Prairie plays well at times. That's a nice defensive stand right there. You gave up about 3 yards maybe, right? You got them off the field. Now you got to come out and finish it.
So that's now 2 punts in a row forced by Clinton Prairie. And with the wind at his back, Jake Skinner sends that one way long, and a good special teams play. And it looks like they're going to down it just shy of the goal line. That's Trent Metzger on the special teams coverage.
Wow, Metzger really great hustle, and he gets down there, and I really thought he got in the end zone, but the official has a much better angle on it than I do. His knees down and the ball's down. He slides into the end zone, but they're saying basically
he was down before.
Yeah, right. The knee and the ball were down before. So now, again, this is what I've always wanted to do. If I'm a defensive coordinator, I'm blitzing everybody. I'm going straight man. I'm bringing 8. You're not getting out of the end zone. I'm getting 2. Now, you say, well, what if they throw a 99-yard touchdown pass? Whatever. I'll just take that risk. I'm bringing everybody.
So here's Cobb under center, deep in his own territory. He just tries to get it out on the QB sneak, and it is a fumble and a touchdown recovered in the end zone by Carroll.
Trying to see who's got it there. Looks like number 11, perhaps. So the jersey's all.
That would be Christian Tillman.
Yeah, it is Tillman. I couldn't tell. I couldn't see if it was a 41 or an 11. The ball's loose again because they just attacked. I don't know why more defense coordinators don't do this. When the ball's on the 1-yard line, bring everybody. Put pressure on that offense. Force the ball loose. That's what Carroll does, and it pays off.
So flipping the field right there on defense were the Carroll Cougars after they had to punt the ball away.
Defensive coordinators will say, well, I don't want to give up the 99-yard touch. I got a better chance of being elected Pope than them going 99 yards in one play. I'm not even Catholic. It would be a huge upset. All right?
We have a flag on the play here on the PAT.
Probably too many men on the field. The flag was thrown by the back judge. And, again, if it is, it's illegal participation. Or, illegal substitution, because I think they blew it dead before the ball was snapped. We'll see.
What would your name be if you were elected Pope?
I would be Pope Elvis I.
For those of you who may not know, one Jim Leisure is probably the biggest Elvis fan I've ever met in my life.
Yeah, I've got about 30 books I've read on him. There's not much I don't know. All right, so it is going to be, I think, illegal participation, and they're going to say the kick is good, and they're going to enforce it on the kick.
So there you have it. After the long discussion, 4 minutes and 4 seconds left to go here in the third quarter. 34-6 on your scoreboard. Carroll on top of Clinton Prairie. Let's do Mulberry Communications or Telecommunications. While we're in the break, Mulberry Telecommunications currently offers service in Mulberry, Dayton, rural Lafayette, rural Frankfort, and other communities in Clinton and Tippecanoe County. Fiber internet packages are starting at just $49.99 per month. For more information, visit mintel.net. Mulberry Telecommunications. It's the best gig in town. And it's also going to be coming to Flora and Bringhurst as well. So, any of you Flora people watching tonight's telecast, thank you so much for joining us here on the ISC Sports Network and Mulberry TV as we now get an interesting lineup here. Again, 15-yard penalty for illegal participation on that PAT, so that's going to be a very short kickoff here from Metzger, considering where you are on the field.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we talked about it. That's exactly I go onside because why not? If you don't get it, they get the ball to 34, 32. But normally what happens in that situation, you kick it in the end zone and they get it to 20 and ends up being like a plus 15 or something. So, yeah, why not onside kick the thing and try to get it? Now you say, well, the score is 35-6. Okay, I get that. You don't want to, again, humiliate anybody. But anytime, I don't think coaches do it enough. When you get that 15-yard penalty assessed on the kickoff, onside kick, why not? They may get it at the 35, so what? I may get to football.
So after all that is said and done, Davis brings that one back out to about the 15-yard line. Handoff is to Whitlock again. Has a full head of steam as he gets out past the 25-yard line, close to it. We have a flag on the play, though, and it looks like it might be holding against Clinton Prairie. We'll see.
Yeah, where the flag is thrown, it's either going to be hold or a block in the back. generally, unless there's a face mask. We'll see.
And it is indeed a hold on Clinton Prairie. So that will negate the 9-yard gain there by Whitlock and instead back them up 10 yards. And so once again, Clinton Prairie getting close to being right back to the situation where they were on their previous drive. And now you might see Carroll once again maybe try and set Clinton Prairie off with maybe a little bit of a blitz here. We'll see how they line up here as Michael Carey lined up in the linebacker position behind the line of scrimmage. And Cobb now in the gun. Ball at the 11-yard line. Whitlock gets met right at the handoff, and he powers forward for maybe a gain of 3. Certainly a lot less offense being generated by both teams here in this second half.
Yeah, and Clinton Prairie, even though they do run a no-huddle offense, it's certainly not a hurry-up offense. As you see them all, they're looking at the sidelines, trying to get the signals from the coaches. And that's the thing, obviously at the college level in the NFL, and it's trickled down to the high school level. I don't know that you gain much out of it. I think it's a lot of work for very little gain.
Inside of 3 minutes to play here, Cobb back to pass. He's looking deep for Davis, and it's tipped up and incomplete. On the coverage, Hunter Simpson getting a pass defense right there.
Griffin Viney's there as well, and a little chit-chat back and forth, and honestly, everyone just needs to go back to the huddle. It wasn't a great play on either side. The ball looked more like a punt. I mean, that's not necessarily great defense. It was a horrible pass. So don't get up and celebrate. Just go over and grab your teammates, celebrate with them.
And there you see a little chit-chat, as you mentioned there, Jim. So it's still 3rd down and long. And the tough thing for Clinton Prairie is that if you're in a punting situation, you are punting into the wind from deep in your own side of the field. And now we have a whistle. And it looks like it's going to be delay of game on Clinton Prairie. So you just add another 5 yards on top of it.
Yeah, and again, I'm just going to attribute that to the inexperience of the quarterback. Cobb's not taking a ton of snaps back there. He's not necessarily used to looking at that play clock like a kid who takes every snap will get in that habit.
Cobb back to pass again. First completion of the night by either team. Out to Wilson. Back to the 10-yard line.
Yeah, back good coverage and nice job of breaking on the ball and coming up by Grady Lytle there. Nice hit.
And I should say that's the first technical throwing completion of the night. We've had a couple of little tosses forward for some passing yards for Clinton Prairie, but other than that, that's just been about it as far as the extent of offense generated through the air.
Yeah, the first real pass. And, you know, those statisticians will get real caught up on, hey, that was a lateral, that wasn't really a pass, and different things, so that's technically rushing yards, and that's fine. As a coach, I didn't care as long as we were moving forward.
So Davis puts his boot into it, and it's a wobbly kick that takes a Clinton Prairie bounce, and it'll be picked up at the 40-yard line here by Xavier Williams, and he gets it back to the 35.
And I wonder if Xavier didn't think that it had hit a Carroll player. Very, very close. And if it did hit the Carroll player, it's a live ball, and that may have been why he said, you know what, I got to get on this thing, and was able to pick it up and return it for a couple.
It's a good presence of mind if that was, in fact, the case. As we're inside of 2 minutes left to go here. Carroll with a touchdown can eclipse that 35-point threshold to get it to a running clock. And now another whistle before the snap as you see Griffin Viney in at quarterback here for Carroll, as Ellis will punch it up the gut and another 10-yard gain for a first down.
Well, this type of thing does a lot of things for Carroll. Number one, it gives the people that you're going to play next week and into the playoffs a different formation, all right, because you're in shotgun, you got a different quarterback, and honestly, it just gives you something more that you have to prepare for. It also helps Carroll because in the unfortunate event that the quarterback does get hurt, you don't want his first snaps to be in the sectional championship game.
Ellis Again with the handoff on first down, he gets piled up right at the line of scrimmage. And so you see Keegan Ellis eclipsing the 1,000-yard mark on the ground for this season. Of course, last year the Carroll Cougars had Clay Metzger doing most of the brunt on the ground. Here you have Keegan Ellis along with a few other players as well in the backfield, but an 1,000-yard rushing season here for Ellis.
I'm not sure I could run 1,000 yards if no one was on the field and you gave me all week. I'd have to take breaks.
Here's Ellis up the gut again, looking for touchdown number 4 on the night. And they're going to say he was brought down just shy of the goal line.
Well, nice run there again. He earned every bit of this. And, as a coach, I used to try to reward a kid. You can give the ball to whoever you want here. Maybe even have Viney run it if you want, just so that he can get a little touch. But I'd give it to 8. He's the one that brought us down here. He's the one that's had the big game. Or maybe if you got that senior on the squad that doesn't have a lot of carries, a chance to get him a score. But we'll see what they do. Maybe they just do a little quarterback sneak with Viney here.
20-yard carry for Ellis. And right up the gut they go for another touchdown. That is Griffin Viney on the QB sneak.
Yeah, I don't see any way. The real late signal there by the linesman. He was then up to his waist. I don't know what the delay was. Watch this here. You'll see the backs come up, kind of push the pile. They're not allowed to push the runner, although they kind of did there. I believe assisting the runner is still a rule at the high school level. I know they eliminated it at the college level, but I believe it still is a high school rule. I talked to an official one time, and he explained this most convoluted explanation of how they officiate that to the point where I'm like, so you never call it? He said, no.
So we'll take a break here as it is 42-6. Carroll rolling over Clinton Prairie here on the ISC Sports Network.
High school sports fans, welcome back to Game Time, to pure spirits, to pure sports. Welcome back to high school sports.
Fans, I'm IHSAA Commissioner Paul Knighty, and I just want to say, welcome back.
This is Game Time. This is Indiana high school sports. This is your IHSAA.
A hefty lead now for Carroll here on the ISC Sports Network over Clinton Prairie, 42-6 on your scoreboard. Jim Leisure, Kurt Darling with you. Jim, we have now reached the threshold where it is a running clock. Now it is stopped for now because they stop between scores as well as timeouts and injuries. That's the extent of it. Other than that, the clock will be running for the entirety of the fourth quarter.
Yeah, again, normally the clock, of course, will stop on incomplete passes, runs that go out of bounds, but not for the rest of this ball game. This is a good opportunity for coaches to get some of their backup kids in, get some snaps. The game is pretty much decided, so get some kids in the ball game.
Seth Whitlock on the return here as he gets it back out to the 25-yard line. And that will take us to quarter number 4. 42-6. Carroll looking for their 8th win in a row. They can do it after one more quarter of play here on the ISC Sports Network.
Ball here. Harris scores. With 19 seconds remaining. Fake players, big boy. I'm telling you right now, that's awesome. I love it. That's the finish. You get a layup, take it, and an and one.
Finding affordable, quality reproductive health care isn't always easy. Did you know that there is now a family planning and reproductive health clinic in our area that is income-based? Services include Pap tests, breast cancer screenings, pregnancy tests, sexually transmitted infection and HIV testing, same-day birth control placement, filled prescriptions, and free condoms. Services are on an income-based sliding scale. Visit 1234 Rossville Avenue or call 659-6063 for more information or to schedule an appointment.
Fourth quarter action here on the ISC Sports Network alongside Jim Leisure. I am Kurt Darling. Running clock for quarter number 4 as the Carroll Cougars looking to get their 8th win in a row. They have not won 8 games in a season since 2017 when they went 8-2, where they lost to Pioneer in the sectional. Of course, that was a Pioneer team that would go on to the state finals. Needless to say, Carroll, they are proving their worth as the number 5 team in the state coming into this one.
And again, you got to almost assume they're going to win this one, obviously, and then that big one against Sheridan next week. And, that could be – I don't know if Sheridan's undefeated. I'll have to take a quick look here. Let me look it up. But, that could be a fantastic football game to watch.
Sheridan has had an excellent season in their own right. As you see a run up the gut by Seth Whitlock.
Of course, Sheridan, we talked earlier, was coached by legendary coach Bud Wright, who's been there forever.
58 years.
My gosh. In a row?
I think so.
No, it is. I'm teasing.
I'm pretty sure it's in a row.
I could see maybe you took a couple weeks off there,
Connor Cobb in the backfield. Hands it off to Whitlock again. And tries to turn the corner. A solid run out past the 35.
Well, credit Seth Whitlock here. He hasn't quit. He's still playing football, and you like to see that.
First down, Gophers.
We take a look at the replay here, getting the block from the lead back and Jacob Wilson. So clock continuing to run here.
Again, it'll be interesting to see, what different formations Clinton Prairie comes out with. Once again, they got to play next week. They play in the sectional. Give teams something on film.
And these two teams could possibly be sectional opponents. In fact, last year, they saw each other twice, splitting both of those games.
Whitlock on the carry.
Yeah, not unusual when teams from the same area play, and they're the same class to be in the same sectional. A couple times in my career, we played 3 sectional games against 3 teams that we had already played previously in the year. So, and looking at the schedule here, it looks like Sheridan did lose week 1 against Western Boone, which is a 3A team and generally a pretty good 3A team.
As Whitlock tries to get the first down and more, he gets across midfield down to the 40. And he runs right into Clayton Davis as he puts his hands up, letting him go. And now you see Whitlock slow to get up, but it looks like he's okay. That's the longest run of the night for Clinton Prairie.
Yeah, nice block on the perimeter out there, too, by Caden Davis. And, as a coach, you will always talk about blocking on the perimeter. You got to block out there, guys. Years ago, Coach Kevin Wright, when he was at Noblesville, Kevin, of course, later at Carmel and in the college ranks. But on the roster, he listed his wide receivers as wide blockers. They were, instead of WR, it was WB. And he's like, until they learn to block, I'm not going to call them wide receivers.
Meanwhile, here's a running back in Jacob Wilson, who has eclipsed the 700-yard mark tonight. Oh, and that is not good sight right there. You see Wilson writhing in pain right there at the 25-yard line.
Yeah, again, you certainly don't like to see anybody get hurt ever. But when the ball game's 42-6 and you got to play, in the playoffs here, nice counter, kick out, turn up. We'll see if his leg gets twisted up here.
Either that or maybe his shoulder. I can't quite see.
Yeah, it could be a collarbone. I mean, the way he's writhing around. And, man, I hope he's not. Again, you just hate to see anybody get hurt at any point. But, so close to the playoffs and then really what amounts to, a game that you can't win.
And so the athletic training staff on the field at the moment here. The clock is stopped right at 9 minutes. So while we have a timeout, let's go ahead and do our Encompass Credit Union Player of the Game. It is going to be Keegan Ellis, who eclipsed the 1,000-yard rushing mark here tonight. This was one of 3 touchdowns that he'd have on the night here.
Well, a little kick-out play, the down play, and then just him. Good stiff arm, good finish.
And there you see a good sight right there with Jacob Wilson walking off under his own power. Looks like it is a leg injury as he's favoring his right leg. So, needless to say, he's probably done for the night.
Yeah, done for the night, but probably not done for the season. I mean, the way he walked off, you got to believe he's going to come back. He may miss next week. Maybe, again, if they can get him some rehab and some stuff, may be able to play on Friday night. But I'm just glad that the kid's not out for the year.
Because with the way that Wilson has been playing this season, that is a player you have to have in the postseason if you're Clinton Prairie.
Yeah, if you're going to have any chance at all.
Here's Whitlock, though. He has done a solid job in relief of Wilson as he gets a solid 8-yard run down to the 15.
Like that play. Again, that's just the counter back the other way. The play that Wilson got hurt on was counter right. That was counter left. That time Logan Kirshner and Avery Nemo pulled from right to left. Again, if you're of a certain age, you remember the old Washington football team, Joe Gibbs, they had the Hogs, and it was just counter tray. That's all they ran.
Whitlock again, tries to find a hole, keeps his feet moving close to the 10.
And that's basically the old-fashioned dive, really. Most people zone block that now. Zone blocking is kind of what it sounds like. You know, this is Indiana. Everyone knows what a zone defense is. You don't guard anybody. You guard an area. Well, zone blocking, same way. You block a zone. Everyone steps right. You have anything to your right. If you're zoning left, you block anything to the left. And in the back, just tries to find a hole that he can squirt through.
First and 10 here for the Gophers. Again, the give is to Whitlock. And he falls forward past the 10, a gain of 3.
And again, counter left. Kirshner and Nemo there lead blocking. The first blocker is supposed to try to look for a defender and kick him out. The second blocker turns up and gets on the linebacker level or second level. Doesn't always work that way. Sometimes if teams defend it really well, then you're going to what we call log block it. And instead of kicking it out, you're going to turn them in.
And there's Whitlock again on the give, and he is tackled for a loss.
I don't know if I can see that again, but it'd be nice. Now, on that play there, what you had is what we call false keys. They've ran that counter left twice. So that time they pulled the right guard and right tackle to the left and then gave the ball to a running back on what we called naked. And it didn't work for him, but I love the false reads. That's good stuff. It's also good, again, to get it on film so that the teams that they play next week and the week after have to defend it.
That was Micah McMains with the tackle for loss. Cobb off to Whitlock again, has some blockers, stays on his feet before he's wrestled down.
So I don't know how much, I haven't, I don't have access to Clinton Prairie's film, but you see the counter. That one's going left to right. They found a little play here that seems to work for them, and I don't know if they've ran it a lot this year, but they certainly have something good come out of this ball game.
And so this will likely be the Gophers' third loss in their last 4 games. They lost to Sheridan 42-0, as well as Delphi on the road, before winning against Taylor. Over the middle, pass looking for the receiver. That was Kai Jacobs again, the target in the end zone, and it falls incomplete.
Well, he had 2 shots at this thing. Actually a pretty nice ball thrown in there, and gets him and gets knocked around, and he had a second shot at it. Credit some pretty good defense there, too. Tanner Turnpole was there.
So that was an attempt on 4th down that did not go, so it's 1st down and 10 for Carroll, deep in their own territory, as it's a running clock, just looking to close this thing out, as the Carroll Cougars looking to amount their 332nd win overall in program history. They have an overall record right now at 331, 261, and 4.
Carroll with some offensive lineman changes, 65 Nathan Wright, 75 Kingston Ayers, and 74 Keegan Burge into the football game for the first time. So those kids getting some time.
Up the gut here for Carroll.
That might have been number 42, Cooper Welk.
And indeed it was.
Like to see it. Like to see some clean numbers out there. And again, you mentioned this is grass, so it could be muddy. A lot of times you used to say clean shirts, but now everybody plays on turf. They all got clean shirts. They're just wet.
Unless they're full of a bunch of little rubber pellets.
Yeah, those little black rubber pellets, you're right. Number 23 also in the football game, Xavier Williams. We think we called his name earlier on a punt return or something.
Indeed, that is correct.
But now he's out there offensively, as is Owen Zinn. And, again, I just like to see a lot of young kids out there getting some minutes.
Direct snap goes right to Deaton. And a long run down the sideline here by Carter Mullins. Gets that down to the 40.
Well, again, Mullins is another young man. We haven't really called his name much tonight. And again, I'm trying to get all those linemen in there because I love linemen. Micah McMains is also out there for the Cougars.
That's a 50-yard run to put Carroll right over the 300-yard rushing mark tonight as a team.
Really nice job of just fighting through some traffic there. Good vision. Tries to do the stiff arm there to finish it off.
So they officially put him out at the 45-yard line.
Again, Carroll being really true class here, taking the play clock down. It's going to be probably an illegal snap or twitch on the center again, probably.
So it's going to be a false start on the offense there for Carroll, so that'll back him up back to midfield.
Clayton Johnson on the field, Kason Fellows. You see number 10 there. Looked like Clinton Prairie brought in some young people as well, or some number 70 Zachary Rapp is in the game defensively there. You see him. Number 44 Kyle Harshbarger.
And now we have another whistle and a timeout taken by Clinton Prairie.
Timeout, Gophers.
So a timeout by Clinton Prairie. That's their second of the half. Defining Looks Wig, Hair, and Nail Salon, a proud sponsor of tonight's broadcast. At Defining Looks, we know that shopping for a wig can be intimidating. We strive to make your experience fabulous and ensure that you receive the best quality service available. For more information, visit defininglooks.com. Defining Looks. Be your own kind of beautiful. And while we have a moment, let's do the Encompass Credit Union play of the game, which is today's interception earlier today, thrown by Stephen Dunford, and a big one taken here by Griffin Viney.
Viney's just another nice player. Reminds me physically a little bit of Keegan Ellis, just big, tall, strong kid.
Getting across midfield there again is Welk. So Griffin Viney accounting for a sack and an interception tonight.
With the tackle.
And he also had some reps at quarterback as well.
And again, to finish off that offensive line, 62 Aaron Marley is the 5th offensive lineman. As you saw, 23 Xavier Williams run onto the field there offensively for Carroll.
So they've been doing direct snaps here to Deaton, and this is actually Sarah Deaton. And that's the handoff to Owen Zinn. Sarah Deaton, a freshman.
Zinn with the carry.
Now, this is where a broadcaster really earns your pay there. You're trying to find these kids on the field, trying to get their names out there as well, and just a lot of clean shirts out there. 43 Hunter Cooper out there for Clinton Prairie. 58 coming onto the football field there for Clinton Prairie. Maybe it's 56 Drew Thatcher.
As we tick inside of 70 seconds left to go.
Now, the one thing sometimes it does happen, Kurt, in these situations is it does get sloppy. You get kids who haven't got a lot of varsity experience. They get in the ball game. They do these little – the center keeps picking the football up. You're not allowed to pick it up. You can move it a little bit, but you're supposed to drag it through the grass. Now, on the other hand, you know, the umpire in a 42-6 football game with a running clock could probably maybe ignore some of that. But, you know, on the other hand, how else is a kid going to learn? You know, he's got to do it right.
There's Carter Mullins on the carry.
Mullins on the carry.
So Carroll may be able to get one more play in here before the end of the game. We'll see what they decide to do here as it's 4th down.
Yeah, I mentioned just line them up.
And indeed, that's what they are going to do. So there you have it. Carroll, the Cougars, moving to 6-0 in conference play, and also getting their 8th win in a row. They remain undefeated as the 5th-ranked team in the state. 42-6, your final score here as the Cougars knock off Clinton Prairie here in this one. Jim Leisure, it's certainly been a pleasure working with you tonight, my friend.
Always nice, and again, just to be able to call some football is always fun, and it's always great working with you, Kurt. And I'm sure we'll see each other at some point down the line. We worked some state championships together on the IHSAA Champions Network, so who knows, maybe will be the next time our paths cross.
Certainly looking forward to it as well. Tonight's IHSAA football matchup has been brought to you by Encompass Credit Union. You're a community-minded credit union. Is a proud sponsor of tonight's broadcast. Once again, the final score 42-6. 8 wins in a row for Carroll as they take on Sheridan next week to wrap up the regular season. For Jim Leisure, I'm Kurt Darling saying so long till next time. You've been watching IHSAA football here on the ISC Sports Network. So long, everybody.
Whether in Tipton or Clinton County, Encompass Credit Union, community-minded just like you. At Encompass, personal member service and convenient technology go hand in hand in making your financial experience effortless. Encompass Credit Union takes part in many of the things that make our communities special, keeping your money working right here. Encompass strives to support the local community by sponsoring sports teams, community groups, and school events. Encompass Credit Union in Tipton and Frankfort, community-minded just like you.